Fucking nailed it.
Welcome to Appropriate Culture. Today, I'm actually interviewing Lucas Morais, co-host of Appropriate Culture. And I think it's appropriate to start with a little bit of background about Lucas Morais. If you're unfamiliar with his work, Lucas creates high-energy electronic music with euphoric melodies and heavy bass that moves crowds on the dance floors worldwide. His unique sound is a culmination of his eclectic background. Lucas was born in Nairobi, Kenya, and moved to Brazil as a very young child, and then made his way to the United States in his teens, where he has resided. And now Lucas is a boss. He owns multiple companies, and Lucas is comfortable in the role of entrepreneur, entertainer, artist, DJ, producer, and dancer. He strives for personal excellence and holds himself and his music to the highest of standards. He currently resides in Seattle, Washington, where he continues to be a boss every day of the week.
Oh, yeah.
All right, sorry. Yeah, that might have been a little bit much.
Thank you,
yeah,
man.
Lucas.
Fuck.
Lucas, you're the man. Been my friend for years, and I've seen you be a boss firsthand. So I'm actually really excited to be interviewing you.
I'm actually really excited. This is a little bit different, but I'm really excited as well.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't really talked about ourselves very much.
No. I mean, sometimes, but we keep it pretty,
Yeah.
Maybe we'll get there in this interview. We'll see.
So let's jump right in. So, Lucas, you were born in Nairobi, Kenya.
Yes.
Tell what's up with that?
Yeah, so my parents, I guess, were and are missionaries of a Christian church as far as religion. And so I was born into a religious household, and part of that was being born while my parents were traveling to different countries. And in this case, I was, I think I was about there for about a year and a half between Nairobi and then also Ethiopia. And so it was like 6 months there or something like that. Now, obviously, I don't remember any of it because, once again, less than 2 years old. I personally don't have any collections of it, but pictures. Birth certificate says Kenya, but I don't actually have Kenyan citizenship because how they do it over there is you need to have Kenyan blood from direct descendants, your parents. And so because my dad is Brazilian, my mom's American, I am 50% each with both. With dual citizenship for Brazil and United States.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, I got a little excited.
Yeah. I mean, it's by, I guess luck. I don't know if my parents did it on purpose or not in regards of, like, legality, or if that's just kind of, like, how it played out. But because of that, yeah, too.
So you grew up for a part of your childhood in Brazil. So
a majority of my childhood, actually.
Oh, yeah. Word. So how was growing up in Brazil?
It was sick. I remember, let's just say I got there around like 1.5, 2, and I left at around 11. So give or take 9 years, 10 years. But it was dope. Like, every day is pretty much summer vibes on some level. Like, there really isn't like cold weather. So at worst, you might have to wear like a sweatshirt here and there. Obviously it does get, if you know what I mean, but nothing compared to like here in the United States. And so when I had come to the United States for the first time to visit, not even to live, but to visit, is when I saw snow for the first time.
Oh, word.
In New York. But in Brazil, I mean, basically, I was playing soccer the whole time.
Oh, and what cities did you grow up in? Or cities?
Yeah, so the first 4 or 5 years, it was in Rio.
Oh, word.
Rio de Janeiro. And then the next leftover was in São Paulo. So basically, like the two biggest cities in Brazil down south.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, it was dope. At the end of the day, I actually was not doing much music or anything like that. It was mainly sports. Running around, just getting in trouble, playing sports. That was when I was having to do a lot of like church stuff too, as part of living in the household. But yeah, no. Aside from that, it was dope. I mean, I still talk I'm supposed to see everybody back from Brazil this December, and so it should be a good time. I haven't seen some of my family members in like over 20 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So we'll see.
Nice.
Yeah.
So you came to the States. How did your family decide to move to?
So from my understanding, I was pretty young, but they wanted us to have. I think there's just several tiers. They wanted us to have me and my sister part of our education here in the United States, especially because we had the dual citizenship. I guess because of that, also my mom's mom lived here in Seattle at the time, and she was getting a little older, and so kind of wanted to get some time with her as well. But that's mainly the reason. I mean, I pretty much didn't speak any English, right up until I got off the airplane, and then realized this is no joke. Like I'm here. You better get learning with this, because you're not going back.
Right. That's kind of crazy.
Yeah, it's pretty wild actually. But you mean you've been to any country where you didn't understand the language?
Oh, yeah,
well,
yeah.
Right. No, I understood it because my mom American, so I always understood it. Didn't really speak it. But yeah. I mean, it was. I mean, you learn pretty quick.
Right.
I mean, if you found out you're gonna be living in the country for several years, you probably want to learn the language and
ASAP.
Get on that.
Yeah. So yeah, tell me about life in the States. What did you think when you got here? I mean, what, and then what do you what's your life like now?
Word. Let's see. Whoa, that's a big one. So school was dope in regards of I had to learn fast how to make friends and understand things, because you kind of know the language maybe first few years in middle school, so you're kind of struggling on basic shit. Then once you kind of figure out how to just you understand jokes, you understand basic things on overall structuring of sentences and not sound like an idiot. Once you get past that point, then you can actually digest reality, if you know what I mean. And so I just remember going through that. It was about 6 month period where I was basically trying to get acclimated to just learning how fucking speak and mannerisms of the United States and different rules and perspectives and yeah, I mean just different when you're in a different culture. And so what we don't understand oftentimes is that there goes so much more than just different food, different temperature, different lifestyle. Like it's like embedded into commonality as far as how to joke, how to like body language, um, stuff that we don't really think about. But aside from that, once I got past that, I mean, I was just pretty much doing sports as well. Like I pretty much was just doing sports as far as like activities for most of like my early teens, and then wrapping up to like mid-teens, I started to, I don't know what happened, but something like a bug bit me of some sort of like success bug of like wanting to just be like ultra successful, like, and then not even really necessarily like specific, just like the young kids that a definition of yourself looking just ultra successful, whatever that is, with like no navigation on how you even got there. Just like it's gonna go down. It's gonna happen. I don't know what necessarily made me feel that. I think it's pretty obvious. Society paints that as like the dope lifestyle. So it's not easy to sell somebody that idea. And that's when I started doing a lot of business ideas where I was like trying to think where I could make money without having to trade my time for hour.
How did that manifest?
Oh, so my first job was at Fred Meyer. Yeah, that was my first job. I was like a cart boy.
Oh, nice.
You go and you grab the carts and bring them back in. That, and then amongst that, some other various tasks like cleaning up shit from time to time and different stuff like that. But mainly like the cart was like the main job. And talk about the most unfulfilling job ever, because like most jobs, you finish them. Like you can literally like put a stamp on it, like it's done, take a picture or whatever, you sell it or whatever, it's done. This one, every time you're like even close to like, for example, maybe clearing the parking lot, you turn around, half of the parking lots are back in there again, dude. So it's basically the most, I wouldn't say the most meaningless job, but it's pretty low. I couldn't even do that job. Like I think the first day I took like a 3-hour break on a 4-hour shift. It was brutal. It's a brutal job. But hey, that sparked me wanting to start looking into business and like how to become like rich, wealthy. And then I forget which one came first. If I started doing like affiliate marketing type stuff, network marketing, and it was like selling a juice, like a fancy juice called Monavi.
Oh, yeah.
Have you heard of it?
I'm familiar. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean it was dope. Like whether that business or that company is really what they say they are, or what they could do for their reps. The idea of like the business model on how things could work essentially, makes sense. Now, whether if it starts to get a little scammy with the whole pyramid scheme type stuff, and where's the line on that, I don't know. I don't even know if they're even around anymore. But
yeah, I don't know.
Probably not, I would wager. But aside from that, at the same time, I started my entertainment company at 16. So that was my first endeavor where full on just 16 years old, finding venues, looking for different DJs, getting security, marketing the events, putting on the marketing process and the event pages. And then not at one point, pretty much from the get-go, our events were like getting over 1,000 kids in attendance. And so we were like ranging from like 1 to 2 events a month. And we would charge these kids about like $10 a pop.
And how old were you?
16.
Wow.
16. So we ran the company for 3 years. 16, 17, 18. And that's when I went to college. And so I went to college at Western Washington. So yeah, I mean, but right up until that point, the company actually got pretty big. We were doing like we did the grand opening for like the Swedish hospital opening on the Issaquah Highlands, and we're doing like weekly events with certain clubs, doing a mix of like hip hop stuff, EDM stuff, and so that was like my introduction like to like entertainment in general. I wasn't DJing, I wasn't making music, but I was around it and I was putting on the events myself.
Word.
Yeah.
Yeah, at 16, that's crazy.
Yeah, no, it was dope. I would not change the experience for anything.
So you said you went to college?
For a whopping 3 months, I dropped out. So I was like, so I want to like touch on this part right here because I before college came around, so like senior year, something like that. I'm thinking to myself, I got a company that actually is already showing potential that showcases to me why would I go to college right now? If the whole point of going to college is to get a good job, so you can get a good job to get good salary, so you can use that salary to then live your life. That's how I saw things. And so in my head, I was like, I just bypassed like 3 steps. But even though at the time that was even part of the research showcased on our pilot that I was writing with my mom, which was a script for a show that was featuring our company as like the characters. Myself and my business partner as these young entertainment entrepreneur moguls. And so basically towards the end of my senior year, I figured out that I had gotten into a couple of the schools I had applied because my parents were like, apply anyways. You might as well. I was like, okay. So I applied. Western was one of them. It came back that I got a couple scholarships. One was like a diversity type thing, and then another one was for, I forget what the other one was for, and then I basically had one for the fact that I had my own company, my entertainment company in high school, because I wrote about that in my essay. And so I had gotten all that together was like about 15 grand, I think, in scholarships, which still would have came out to be like almost 20 grand at the end of the year after that's taken off. So I'm thinking to myself, my parents are like, you also got into this, what they were referring to as this prestigious marketing course, where only 25 kids from the entire business category got picked to be in it. And so my parents were like, this is a great opportunity. Like, you have to go. Like, you gotta at least give it a try. I'm like, all right, fine, I'll go. Get there. Ended up actually I roomed with my first buddy I made back in middle school. He actually ended up going to the same school. And so we ended up rooming together back like 6-7 years down in college.
Oh, that's funny.
And we kind of had like a fallout during high school. So it's kind of like a wild circle. And so super dope. We room together, start going to class. All my classes are basically bullshit. I mean, I'm just gonna cut straight through it. And they basically made me take, like, everybody knows this, you got to take all your prereqs. And I'm thinking to myself, why do I got to take all this stuff? This got zero to do, because all of these type of stuff was what I was getting told in high school. Why do I got to learn all these different classes? And they were telling me it was so you can have a diverse understanding, so you can have the basics covered. Like, okay, you get to college, they have the same thing, except this time I'm paying for it, so I actually care.
Yeah, weird.
My parents weren't paying for my school, and so because I was paying for it, and I'm keenly aware about where my money could have been going, because I have my own business, my life is developing as an adult. In my head, I'm like, man, I don't know, this better be good. And so I basically failed all my classes except for one because I wasn't showing up to the other ones. And then the one I was showing up was the prestigious marketing course. And I found out that I was like the only kid that didn't have a 4.0 or above. I graduated with like a 3.0. I was the only kid apparently that had like such a low GPA. And I realized why. It was because the entire time I was there, the 3 months I was there, I didn't take notes because I was trying to be like some sort of rebel, but I didn't take notes because there was nothing to take notes on. Like it was that bad. And I looked around and everybody's like writing their pencils away, like to the point where they're using multiple pens because they're just going through them so fast. And I realized I'm like, yo, this is ridiculous. Like, there's a reason why you don't learn about business in class like this. Like, you're supposed to be out there. Like, the ones who actually go fucking do it. You know what I mean?
No.
All the people that I know who are constantly in class learning about business, they aren't doing shit out in the world business-wise. Most of the time.
Word.
Maybe it's not your experience, but from my experience, that's what it is.
Yeah, that's not my experience.
From my experience, the majority of the people who are the most successful are the people who are just like, dude, I'm not going to go to school for this. Like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing regardless. And you go in there and you teach yourself. Because here's the bottom line. When it comes down to these types of when it comes down to marketing, sure, you can learn the vast majority of topics. But you could teach those to yourself if you really want to. You don't have to go to school for that shit.
Oh, yeah. I believe that about anything.
And so my point is, I'm like, yes, you need to learn these things. But you don't have to be going to this. And for the record, dude wasn't even teaching anything with marketing that had to do with digital marketing, like on any level. There was no translation. There was no application. You never mentioned it. It was literally like you were getting taught from an ancient book from like 1960s.
Word.
And they call that a prestigious marketing course. And so my parents came for like Parents Day, like the first quarter that you have. And they took me to the network. It was a Facebook movie.
Oh, yeah.
And then the next day I told them I'm dropping out. I was like, I can't do this, dude. So yeah, came back and then started my working career. And that's when I got introduced to brand ambassador work.
Oh, word.
Shortly after I met you.
You mean before you met me?
Shortly after I dropped out, like a year or two.
Oh, word.
I met you.
Oh, yeah, that's funny.
Because that's when I started doing like brand ambassador work, still in the marketing industry. But I had to figure out that like you could do this type of work sort of on and off. And so it was good because I was still building my own stuff on the side. And that's right when I had started getting into music myself.
So, yeah, how did you get started with music?
Oh, man. Okay, so this is like, I guess this one's kind of like a deep, heavy one to start off because it does have there's a specific reason that catapulted me to start. So what I didn't say earlier was that I was one of the co-owners of the entertainment company I had there in high school. The other owner was Leon Hall. And when I say was because he ended up passing away. And not because he passed away, but because I believe he was actually killed. And so that was the reason why the company stopped, the entertainment company. It wasn't because like we were failing and we're like, we need to just cut our losses. It was because half of the company just is not around.
And you don't know what happened?
Well, yes and no. So a little bit of context, since I was one of the people that was there. This was on Halloween. Down 2 blocks from here at Trinity, by Trinity and the other club. stage. So we all go out partying. Me, him, and like two of his other best friends, three of us. And all three of us, we're all friends with each other, but we're not like friends. We're all like friends through him. Like he's the main connection between us knowing each other. So we all, I think it was one of the only times that we were all his best friends. We all went out. And for the record, he was actually the DJ for our company. And so he would not only help me put on the events, but then he was also playing when the event started. So he was actually DJing, throwing it down. And so he was the one that introduced me to DJing a little bit. The little bit that I did know at the time, he was the one that like taught me like the basics. And that night, apparently, he was a little too drunk. And because of it, he ended up getting kicked out by one of the security guards for being a little bit too rowdy, I guess. And so at this point, all three of us are still in the club. We didn't know this. And so he basically, at this point, it's just reports from people who were in the streets. I guess they saw him. And so reports say that he just starts sort of stumble out, starts to mingle with different people, starts to kind of move in different places. And then next thing you know, the stories stop as far as like people seeing him going in a certain place. So he basically, I guess he just keeps going to a point where he's no longer being seen. So we leave the club, look for him for about like an hour. I would say maybe an hour and a half, because at one point the girl that had the car that we drove there with, she actually had a curfew, so she had to get back. So, but you're thinking in your head, how many times have you gone out with the homies, and there's always one ends up running off with some chick, and I'll spare the details, but they always come back the next morning from wherever the hell they ended up. And so that's like not a surprise. But most of the time, you don't even look. That time, we looked. We like sensed. I think something was extra. Something was different. So anyways, had to go back home. We figured we'll see him tomorrow. Next day shows up. Next day comes around. He doesn't show up. And then we contact each other, and we established that if he didn't show up by the next morning, we're gonna call it in, because it was weird, because we had already tried to contact him all during that day. And so the looking for him starts. So like it was actually on the news. And so search parties, the whole 9 yards, postings, and all this. So yeah, I mean, basically at this point, I can't remember if it was like a week and a half, 2 weeks, but at this point, they end up declaring formation. Now, it's important to say this entire time I'm being left out of the loop, because the detectives are only speaking to his parents, and his parents are not speaking to either three of us, because they associate his missing to us. So they're like purposely like not giving us any info. So come to find out, he ends up getting found week and a half later, 2 weeks later, not alive. I forget exactly which lake it was, but it was up north, here in Seattle.
Oh, wow.
So that was a rough one. That was probably like the lowest one in my life as far as like moment, because like we lived together.
Dang, that's crazy.
So for about 2 months, about a month plus, all his belongings still in the house while I was still there living. And so, not to get too deep into it, but at that point, I made a decision that I wasn't going to continue the company because he really was like 50% of the company. Like our partnership, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like if one of us were to just not be around, the workload would, like the whole experience would just change.
Oh yeah, totally.
Right? Like it just would not be the same.
Yeah.
And so I decided to put that one down and just move on. And at that time, I had started to gain an interest for DJing and just music in general. And so I decided to make the transition from management type work on entertainment and do the actual entertainment. Isn't like the music. So that propelled me to then start dancing, DJing, and then later on producing, and then later on singing and rapping.
More. Yeah, that's a crazy story, man. I'm sorry to hear about that.
Yeah. Rest in peace.
Yeah. So you got into DJing. So did you like play? You would play shows like locally, or what kind of DJing or like music production have you done?
Are you talking about like in regards of like shows that I played or
Well, yeah.
music?
What is your has your career looked like since you got
Yeah,
into it?
so the first like 2-3 years I was just DJing. And when I mean DJing, so for people who don't know, DJing and producing, like I've said in the podcast in the last episode, two completely different things. So when you're a producer, you make music essentially from scratch in many ways. I'm not gonna get caught up in the definitions of what from scratch is, but you make the music from an original standpoint. And then DJs, which can be producers, but for the most part, if you get in the game as a DJ, you most of the time you don't know how to produce, and you're just downloading music that you hear in the radio and you're playing live. Very straightforward. And so I at that time when I first started, I was DJing, like making mixes and like playing parties, getting some gigs here and there at clubs, and just doing that. And then I quickly realized I thought I would go like and just become like super poppin' just because I was like DJing like 6 months in. You know what I mean? Like some dumb idea that for some odd reason I'm thinking like this is gonna be hella easy, right? And yeah, no, not that at all. So you find out very quickly there's a lot more to it. You find out that motherfuckers who are now coming up on the spotlight have been like making music for like 7-10 years and some 10+ years, and those are the ones who make it. There's a lot of the ones who you don't hear about it. They've been making music for even longer sometimes. And that doesn't mean that like just because you made it that means you're a good musician or not. It just means now you get paid, now you get to do that and not have to worry about that and do other shit instead to pay your bills. And so I basically realized that you have to be a pretty decent producer, like as soon as I got in the game. You got to make your own music, or else you're just always going to be playing these local shows. And there's nothing wrong with that, but if you want to have your career sort of exceed that parameter at a certain point, do perhaps maybe some international shows, some tours, you're going to have to get into the original making music as a producer, or have a producer make it for you. And I guess you could buy the rights, but I produce my own stuff. So, I mean, right now I've been predominantly producing the most out of all the different musical parts of the career, as far as DJing, dancing, and all that. I've been producing way more.
Nice.
Yeah. No, I mean it's dope. Seems like there's a big surge in producers. There's like a whole wave of kids hopping on and tearing it up at like age 13, 12, just making like absolute bangers.
No word.
Yeah, dude, like it's crazy. Like I was seeing like some I think it was like was that I don't know if it was a Timbaland live show, live stream, and one of the kids that got brought up was like, he must have been maybe like 12, at least, like maybe 11. And he starts like basically telling him that he's about to play this song, and they're all like fire. And he's like, well, I mean, how many beats do you make a day, dude? And he's like, I make like 30. I was like, what? And like, he didn't even flinch. He didn't even fucking flinch. I'm just like, dude, this is ridiculous. Like, this is what happens when like kids get obsessive. Like, they take it to like a level that like you didn't think was possible.
That's crazy.
Cause think about it. If you're a kid and you're home all day and you don't have to like worry about like regular bills and shit like that, and like you're doing what we did back at home, play. Except you're doing it in a much more productive way. Yeah, which is you're building a skill that's gonna be like very beneficial like for the next few decades in your life.
Yeah, word.
If not your whole life.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's like sort of like your child prodigy type stuff. I guess you'd fall in that category. But yeah, like I had none of that. Like I did not grow up playing music, making music. I did not grow up learning music theory, taking music classes in high school. None of that. Because that shit wasn't cool to me back in high school. I wanted to be like on the sports level.
It's funny. I actually used to make beats back in high school.
Oh yeah, you made beats back in high school?
Well, more because I made films and I needed original music for them, and like we didn't have a good library, so yeah, I usually would just make my own
Hell yeah
for the soundtrack.
I'm trying to hear that, dude.
I know, right? I don't know if I have any of them, but yeah, me and my friend Mike. Sometimes we would like joke around and like we'd make beats with like 3-second gaps like randomly in the song. So because like the teacher would sometimes he'd like pick random songs to play for the class. There was one time he like picked one of those, and because it was like a joke between me and Mike. But yeah,
it was just like nothing.
So it'd be like boom, 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 and then come back in, and then you're just like, so like literally there was a couple times where the teacher went to go turn it off because it was over, and then it came back on, and we're just like, oh.
So would you call that experimental?
Oh yeah, that's new age
experimental pop. Yeah. That's sick. I'm trying to take a peep. If you still have it.
Yeah,
I want to hear it.
Yeah, maybe Mike does.
I could do a remix.
Talked to him in years actually, but.
Yeah, man, producing is dope.
Producing music. So you've got all types of new music that's come out recently. Mm-hmm. How often do you put out new music?
Right now it's about once a month.
Oh, nice.
Once a month. I'm like slowly slagging a little bit here, but yeah, it's averaging about one a month for 2021. Every year has been more and more music, so that's good.
And so where can people find your music? So
any of the places which you get music at, if it's Spotify, if it's Apple Music, if it's YouTube, SoundCloud, whatever, just type in Lucas with a C, Lucas, Morais, Morais.
And don't you have some music videos out too?
Hell yeah, we got music videos out. So yeah, just search for that name on YouTube, and you'll find it. And right now, my YouTube page has been recently merged with my artist page on YouTube, so you'll get everything in there. It's all in there. But yeah, like music videos are like they're dope because like you've even helped me shoot some music videos.
Oh yeah.
And like low key, that's one of my favorite parts about the being in the industry, which is a part I still need to grow a lot in, but I love learning about cinematography. And so working with the music and then working with learning how to visually tie it all together has been super dope.
Nice.
Yeah.
So do you produce your own music videos?
Yes.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. What I do is So I used to be signed with a label back when I first started ish. We're talking like 5 years ago. And we talked about it actually with the last episode that we did when I interviewed Semio. And it just came out yesterday over appropriateculture.com. And long story short, he got signed to the same label that we were at because he won a remix contest from one of our tracks.
Oh, nice.
That's how I know him.
Oh, word.
So Duo breaks up. I go as a solo artist. And basically at that point, it's just been like trying to learn one skill after another. And just recently it's gotten to the point where I've had some more time to invest towards learning how to like really put music videos together. And so the next one's coming up. It's going to be extra nice, may I say. But you can catch the latest one. I think it was Merlot's the latest music video that's available out there. It's a good one. You were around for a lot of that one, so you probably recognize it.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah. Vegas.
Yeah. All right. So what do you see for your future? Do you like in your ideal future, are you a music producer? Like what do you see for Lucas Morais moving forward?
Yeah. Let's see. I mean, so
Besides taking over the world as
that's a given.
benevolent dictator.
It's, I'm coming. And the wrath will take all.
The wrath of puppies.
Actually, I mean, we might get a puppy in the household. We'll might be having our first mascot for the podcast. But excuse me. In regards to my plans, I'm thinking I would like to keep producing. I really enjoy making the original vibes, like from the origin of the song. Mm-hmm. I am starting to bring in, I am starting to expand the team and bring in different team players, graphic designers, videographers, mixing, mastering engineers, and different positions like that. And so I've been expanding the team, building it slowly with like just like a rock star team, really. Because since I left the duo / the label, which for the record, I'm going to be very clear. And it might sound like I'm bashing on the label. I'm not. I'm really sort of just on the whole topic as a whole, but we were the only reason we even fell for even signing for that was because we were brand new in the game, highly uneducated, not knowing that like the things they were doing for us, we easily could have done ourselves with a couple Google searches. Literally a couple Google searches. And so labels should be fucking scared as far as I'm concerned right now, moving forward. And I think several of them are starting to recognize that, like, there's going to be several artists that are actually going to be doing better in some sort of way, whether if it's the presence they've built or actual cash flow of, like, actual booking shows and having a real brand without necessarily having to need a label to get there. And so I'm not saying that being with a label won't get you there. But as far as independent artists coming up into a situation where they can do something for themselves, oh man, it's hot out there. It's like Gotham City.
I think those are probably the labels are trying to like send some interference.
You know what I'm
for
saying?
The one time there's a siren.
Yeah, they're coming for me. I mean, yo, like for the record, like if you sign with a label and you feel like it's a good deal for you and you don't want to do the work, like you don't want to do the work outside of the music stuff, sign it. you're probably better off. But if you're willing to do the additional stuff that most artists are not willing to do, well, when your stuff gets popping, when you start to catch on and get some momentum, you own 100%. There is no split. There is no getting robbed from your royalties and all this nonsense that so many big artists talk about. And so just know what you're getting as an artist on how you go about it. But I think the days of hoping that you get found by a label and that's going to change your life, I think those days are starting to slowly not really be a factor.
So yeah, what do you think about the music industry in general? I mean, do you think it's run by Satanists who are trying to take over the world?
Reptilians.
Yeah, reptilians.
Man, okay, we're going in right now.
That's what you call a leading question. No, for real. Like, what do you just think of the industry in general? And is the industry even a thing anymore? Or is it so fractured now that you can't really classify it as one thing?
Well, I mean, there's a lot. I mean, I've seen a lot of information from other researchers that talking about tying in all kinds of biblical and ancient sort of powers driving the force of the reason why our entertainment is the way that it is. And so we could get down, like I probably wouldn't even have enough time for really wanting to really get down into it, but I don't know, there's some compelling arguments. I gotta say there's some compelling aspects in regards of it doesn't mean that entertainment exists and therefore it has to drive you to a worse place of debauchery and fucking, some sort of place where you're not right with your soul. It doesn't have to be that way. But as far as like what do we see, the types of, work that tends to gravitate to the top tends to be the type of music that most religious people wouldn't even want their kids to listen to. Right? It's your WAPs and your pick whatever other song.
Yeah. What's Lil Nas?
I know. Yeah.
I can't remember what it's called, like Monero or something like that.
Montero's one of them.
Oh yeah.
Montero's one of them, and the latest one is like.
There's a new one.
Dude, if you couldn't watch Montero, this one took it to a whole other level. This is the most recent one. What's his name? Jack Harlow's in it. I didn't God, dude!
I didn't even hear about it, yo.
I know you don't care.
And I'm not.
I know you don't care, and I'm normally not the one to be like, even in some sort of like gossipy way about it, but it's so over the fucking top, dude. When I mean literally, I kid you not, full on scenes of like just like a guy in his pants and his dildos is clearly just like pull and a hand just grabbing it, and I'm just like, and like that's the whole shot. And you're like, why do we've come to this point where like this is what's being shown in videos. At one point, him and a whole team of guys are dancing naked in the shower, butt naked.
Right.
And all I'm saying is this: you can make whatever you want to make. Make whatever you want to make. I don't care. But that has to be mature audience. That cannot be fucking PG-13. Or general. And a majority of his fan base is kids.
Right. Yeah,
So basically you have your Cardi B's and whatnot getting stupid famous, making stupid amounts of money, unlimited amounts of opportunities coming their way. And in most cases, a lot of artists are just like, dude, I can't make stuff like this. I gotta draw the line somewhere.
Yeah, word. So what do you see as the state of the world right now? Like, what do you think's really going on with everything? Do you believe what's being portrayed on the major news organizations by and the government? And what's your view on what's going on right now?
Well, that's a big one. It's kind of a loaded question. But I would say, for sure, we're at a point where we've already experienced different crescendos, so to speak, of pinnacles of energy coming to a certain point, or what you would call like the final explosion, where it tips things off. I think 2020 was pretty much the beginning of the end when it comes down to this specific idea I'm talking about. I'm not saying the world's gonna end soon. My point is, I've never seen, especially here in the United States, so I'm speaking from here in the United States. I'm sure elsewhere it could be different, but there's just like sides and teams everywhere. Like everybody is like constantly just separating themselves from each other just by simply trying to find out where you stand in certain topics. And maybe not everybody does that, but I've seen it so much in the last couple of years that it's to the point where you're like, there are just certain topics in general that if you want to just give yourself an easy time, you just don't ever bring it up out in public, period.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you know me, I'm the guy who likes to bring those motherfuckers, those topics up. And not only that, I'll chop it up and let's have a debate. And so I have lost few friendships over the last couple of years due to this type of energy. This sort of like, I can't believe you think that type of thing. And when I mean that, I mean like I never do that towards people. I understand people have different perspectives. Like I don't expect people to think like me.
Right.
And so, I mean, shit, you and I have plenty of things that we don't see eye to eye.
Yeah, word.
That does not keep us from hanging out with each other and having respect for each other.
Yeah, totally.
And so I find it weird how there's been so much of that. People just losing their shit due to trivial topics that at best represent really what the reality is showcasing. And so I find it peculiar how fragile really most friendships are. Because if all somebody needs to find out is that you're not down with BLM, or if you support a certain president, or if you didn't put up the country colored of whatever bomb happened that week on your Facebook picture profile cover, template. If you don't do these certain things, that you for some reason are a kind of person that's like not supportive, or that you're not a good person. You're inherently not a good person.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right? Because racist, because sexist, because transphobic, whatever. And that goes back honestly to the fact that I kind of want to wrap it up in a sense where I personally, what I really see is this. Every generation is different. I get that. And every generation has to deal with different aspects of technology and society that get implemented later on where other generations didn't have to experience that at their time in their lives, perhaps as a kid. Like, can you imagine being a kid growing up with a phone? Like full on social media right now? And you're like 6 or 7 and you're on TikTok? Can you imagine that shit? And so the amount of overload as far as things that are added is getting pretty staggering. And so personally, I think the younger generations are starting to become quite frail. and they can't really withstand a lot of the heat that you should be able to withstand. And so we could get down into as to why that is, but I would definitely say social media doesn't help. I would say that the lifestyle that we've created for ourselves with technology, a lot of the times, if a kid's deep into it, that doesn't help. It's not healthy. And oftentimes we've now been shown to be insulted by just about almost anything that comes out of anybody's mouth.
Offended.
You're offended.
Yeah.
And being offended now is actually like seen as being courageous or some shit like that. Like this is how far we've come, where a person can be ultra offended in some public scenario for whatever reason. And then someone in the woodwork will be like, well, that's courageous. Like, you go, girl. Or that person totally should have done that because X, Y, Z. Like, you're getting awards and you're getting support for behaving that way in many ways nowadays. As opposed to before, you get shamed for that. Because it's embarrassing. Now, I understand that there are different levels of people doing things that could offend you. Like, literally offend you. Like, but then at one point, we've gotten to the point where it's shit that you should just get over it. Because you don't get to control what the other person does. That's the part about living in a free society, in a free world. You get to do things that person doesn't get to control of you, and that person gets to do and say, and that person might say or do some things that you might not like. It's fine. You don't get to control that. Unless that person is physically hurting others and going outside of their reality of utilizing their means of saying or doing things, you don't get to control that. And people really just want to control other people right now. It's not even the government. The government is still trying to control, but now you have people trying to control other people. It's fucking wild.
Well, that's a pretty good or good note to wrap up on. Is there anything else you want the people to know? We'll obviously put your links to your work in the description, and anything else? Any other messages you'd like to get to people?
I would say, don't let life get stale. Keep pushing, no matter what point you are in your own life. If you think you've achieved, or if you think you're just getting started, keep pushing the boundaries. Keep making new things. Keep aspiring for becoming a better person. And yeah, no. Aside from that, find me on other social platforms. I'm on all the other Facebook, Instagram, and just search for @Lucas Morais Music.
And OnlyFans too.
Yep. Don't forget my OnlyFans. And Pool Boy series coming out next week. And yeah, I got a new song that's gonna be coming out pretty soon. One that just came out a couple weeks ago. Masquerade. You can go stream that right now on all platforms. Actually, I'll play like a few seconds here.
Oh yeah, please do.
On it. And aside from that, I got a new song coming out. Actually, a lot of songs coming out, but a new song coming out in about 3 weeks. And so be on the lookout for that too. Aside from that, I'll play you guys a little bit of what I'm talking about here.
Baby, you know you gotta know. I see you see me on the low. Drinking making me hazy. What's going on with me, baby? Look at you, I see it twice. Man, this ain't right. Hold me in tight when I look in those eyes. Open my eyes, I'm in a different room.
Dope.
There
So
it is.
which one was that?
That's Masquerade.
Masquerade.
That's my latest song that's out right now. I've been releasing like a song once a month, basically, like I said, and so lots of new music for the rest of the year coming out as well.
Yeah, be sure to go check out the music videos from previous songs on YouTube.
Yeah. And just as a last one, my entire website where you can find everything is just lucasmoraismusic.com.
All right.
Very straightforward.
Yeah, perfect. All right. Well, thank you, everybody, for joining us at Appropriate Culture, and we'll see you on the next one.
Appreciate you, man.
Yeah. Appreciate you, man. Yeah, thanks for opening up.
Of course.
All right. Peace.
Thanks for watching this episode from Appropriate Culture. If you want to watch other episodes, make sure to make your way to appropriateculture.com. You can also hang out with us in other social media platforms. They're all in the link in the description. And aside from that, if you want to listen to the podcast on other platforms like Audible, Spotify, any of those, you can also find us there as well. Link in the description. Take it easy, guys. Have a good day.